Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us today. And welcome to the 22nd episode of the Restaurant Dealmaker Show. Today we have a unique and very exciting format, and Jeremy Broekman, our marketing director who produced and directed today's show, will be co-hosting and taking the lead. I initially was introduced to Jeremy while I was on a trip in Japan in 2016. And I was searching for a new marketing director on the computer. I entered various keywords into the search button, regarding restaurant marketing, sales, leasing, and Broekman Communication, Jeremy's company, kept popping up. Jeremy has done a terrific job for us, and he has developed our website. He handles our social media, public relations, and advertising. And he produced the Restaurant Dealmaker Show, which started 2 years ago and has generated close to 200,000 followers. Jeremy's tagline on his LinkedIn states he is a marketing and branding agency, a schmoozer, publicist, master of ceremonies, host, plus actor, mountain man, and family man. I think that says it all. And without further ado, here's Jeremy.
Thank you so much, Steve. Yes, those are a lot of small titles and shoes to fill as we navigate this little digital marketing space. But nothing gave me greater pleasure than getting the very random call from Tokyo saying, "Hi, I hear you do some real estate marketing and publicity," and it brought me great joy to know that I was so famous, so far away. So thank you for that. We're very excited to be here today. And I mean, I can't believe that it's been over 7 years now in which we've been collaborating. Some relationships and some collaborations are just so much easier because of the nature of the organization's leadership, the amazing Mr. Steve, God bless you, thank you so much, but also this amazing team of agents and staff that help run this universe of yours. And I definitely think that we're all one big happy family, and I'm blessed to be a part of it. Yeah, today's going to be a little bit unique because normally you've got all these co-hosts sitting on this side of the screen who are waiting with bated breath to be asked a series of questions and to be grilled. But we're actually going to sort of churn the universe around a little bit. And today, to Steve's surprise, we've actually spent a lot of time working with our agents and staff to flip the script. So today is actually going to be a celebration of everything that restaurant realty is all about. And so perhaps what we'll do right now, Drew, I would love for you to play our intro video to at least introduce to our audience some of the people they're going to be hearing from today. Hit it.
Andy Mirabel. I work with Restaurant Realty Company. I cover the Greater Bay Area and abroad, including Napa, Sonoma, Sacramento, and other areas. I've been with the company for 5 years now.
My name is Jonathan Ferrini. I became associated with Restaurant Realty Company in 2013.
My name is Keith Simpson. I've worked with Restaurant Realty Company since 2012, and my territory is mainly LA, but I do some Northern California as well.
Hi, I'm Martin Kramer. I'm with Restaurant Realty, and I have been with the company going on 5 years. Joined Restaurant Realty in 2019 after meeting with Steve Zimmerman in San Diego County.
Hello. My name is Giancarlo Di Tullio. I've been with Restaurant Realty for roughly 5.5 years now. Currently am covering the Central Valley.
My name is Jim Pate. I've been with Restaurant Realty about 5.5 years now, going on 6. Northern California is my primary listing area, but I do some work in Southern California as well.
Hi, my name is Patrick Toda. I've been with Restaurant Realty since 2018. I service the San Francisco Bay Area as well as the Central Coast.
Todd Pliss. I joined Restaurant Realty in 2013, and I handle Los Angeles and Ventura County.
I'm Siobhan Lowry. I've been with Restaurant Realty for 4 years.
My name is Laura Graber, and it'll be 3 years with Restaurant Realty this March.
My name is Andrea Curtis, and I've been with Restaurant Realty, I believe this month it will be 10 years.
Hi, my name is Gail Lafayette, and I've been with Restaurant Realty for 8 years.
Woohoo! Thank you so much, guys, for those introductions. We're so excited to have you all here. But Steve, what we did in this unique experience is we asked each of our agents and staff members a series of 6 questions. And you'll be surprised by some of the answers, but we're going to start with answer number 1. Question number 1, what do we do best? So before you play it, Drew, I want to hear Steve's answer first. Steve, what do you think we do best?
Well, I think what I certainly do best is I recruit high quality team members that have a knowledge of the industry through either owning their own restaurant and or bar or managing restaurants, and who really enjoy taking care of their clients.
That is a concise answer and right on point. Drew, I want to hear what everybody else has to say.
We are a niche brokerage. We work only with restaurant, bars, and food-related businesses, which gives us an advantage to a generalized commercial agent. We know what we are working with. We've walked in the shoes of the clients we work with.
Restaurant Realty is unique because it is a truly specialty restaurant, real estate, and business opportunity brokerage company in California. We do the representation of sellers and buyers and landlords and tenants of exclusively restaurant properties. We do it better than anybody else. And we do it better than anybody else because we've been doing it since the early 1990s, when the company started in San Francisco, and I associated myself with Restaurant Realty Company when it expanded into Southern California in about 2013.
See, we do best at valuing a business very well, because we all have come from the restaurant background, whether we're restaurant managers, chefs, or owners. We've all come from that background. And that helps us understand the business completely. We're not a general business brokerage. We specialize in only restaurants. And so we know how to read P&L reports and tax returns, and we know all the ins and outs that happen with a restaurant. And so we have I tend to use the questions, okay, how much money should there be in the revenue, not how much money you're reporting. So I look at all those things.
Really help walk our sellers through the entire sale process, which can be very complicated with ABC licenses, health inspections, just the myriad of SBA financing, and all the documentation that's necessary to make sure that the sale transaction is handled properly for both the seller and the buyer.
All of the agents within Restaurant Realty have either been previous restaurateurs, operators of restaurants, or current operators of restaurants. So we understand what it takes to run a restaurant and can empathize with owners who are either at the end of their careers, in the middle, or at the beginning stages of their careers, and all the emotions that go along with each stage.
Well, I think what Restaurant Realty does best is put buyers and sellers of restaurants together and complete the transactions at a very high successful rate. The best in the business, the best in California. Put restaurant buyers and sellers together.
We're so razor focused on the restaurant industry. A lot of us are former restaurant owners and operators. We completely understand all angles of the transaction. Speaking from my experience, I've been both a buyer, a seller, and also a broker on both sides. So I see all angles. I know how everybody's feeling in the transaction, and I use that to my ability to make for a better transaction.
Here at Restaurant Realty, I'd say what we do best is really service the buyers and the sellers. We really go the extra mile in customer service. We have a tremendous buyers list. What's nice is, having done this for 10 years, I have a lot of people on a list looking for certain types of restaurants. So if I, for instance, list a Mexican restaurant, there are people I could call, hey, Jim, I got a Mexican restaurant in this area, you interested? And I've had some pretty quick sales from that.
Sell restaurants. I think that what sets us apart is that most, if not all of our agents have been restaurant owners themselves.
All right. Listen, I can't say thank you enough to all of our agents for being so patient with me as we started producing each of these. We got a couple more to go, but it's awesome hearing their voices, right, Steve? To hear.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And now I'm starting to notice, certain accents and certain vibrations in certain people. So it's wonderful. All right. Next question. So the next question, what's our greatest strength, Steve?
Well, our greatest strength is obtaining high quality food and beverage listings and marketing them on a confidential basis to a very extensive database of over 75,000 qualified buyers that we've developed as a result of being in business for 28 years.
And we should probably also add to that you personally come from managing 37 restaurants over a multiple decade experience. So you've been in the shoes of all of these individuals and coming from the Zims family, which guys, if you want to go back to episode number 6, you can hear all about Zims and all the history on how Steve Zimmerman founded this wonderful company named Restaurant Realty. But I would love to hear what our agents had to say about our greatest strength.
Each of our transactions have a lot of nuances to them. So we need to navigate those successfully, and we can lean on each other. So we have a really, really strong team. We have some vastly experienced agents that have been doing this a long time in this one niche part of the market.
So we know restaurants. The founders, Mr. Steven Zimmerman, grew up in the restaurant business. I grew up in the restaurant business, and many of our other associates have been involved in the restaurant business. So we have that understanding, which is unique within the brokerage company, because we've been in the front of the house and the back of the house, and we know the blood, sweat, and tears that go into operating a restaurant, and we can empathize and successfully represent our clients better than anybody else.
We are the best. I mean, I've been with the company now for 11 years. I was with another brokerage before that for about 8 or 9 years. And Restaurant Realty Company, just the marketing, the SEOs, we are number one on anyone's search engine for buying a restaurant, selling a restaurant. And we sell nearly 100 a year, and we always have 150, 160 listed. There's a huge amount of choice covering the whole of California. And I know I've sold restaurants in California to people from Connecticut. So we reach out all over the nation and, in fact, even the world.
One of our greatest strengths is our ability to market and cast a very wide net to capture all the potential buyers that may be out there looking at our listings for our clients that are trying to sell their businesses. With everyone that we have helping with the marketing, it's been a huge asset and just a major plus for me as a broker to have that resource that really broadcasts our listings so that our properties sell. And I think that gets shown by the success we have, which is, I believe, we're around 3 times the national average on selling businesses.
We have a community of agents who have been in the industry, who have been on the deal side, and can share all of these stories to better serve future clients.
Our dedicated staff is very resourceful, helpful, and they really do make a difference for the buyers and the sellers and the transactions, and they keep everything on track. Our buyer coordinators, our web, internet people, and our office manager. Without them, I don't think that we could do our job properly. But then it comes down to our agent. Most of them have been in the restaurant business or owned a restaurant. And so it gives them the empathy they need in order to make that transaction move more smoothly between the buyer and seller. I would say the main credit to the strength of Restaurant Realty is Steve Zimmerman. He's the main reason Restaurant Realty is successful as it is today.
We connect buyers and sellers confidentially. And in the food service industry, confidentiality is really important because if it gets out prematurely that a business is for sale, it can detrimentally affect the business.
the agents that we have on board have loads of experience. Whoever our sellers or buyers get are going to be in great hands.
Right. So now, first off, it's a nice compliment that people happen to say that we have some decent marketing. I mean, I think you made a good decision, Steve, in hiring me. I know that other people were involved in that decision, but I think it was, no, but in truth be told, I think anybody who's watching this and is interested, we have a wonderful landing page that really does a good job of describing the whole Restaurant Realty marketing program. I'll make sure to put that in the notes in the video, but effectively, from soup to nuts, from platform and listing engines to the search engine optimization program that we do monthly and weekly. It's not just something that we're dealing with once every year like some other companies. The level of blast email and all these targeted email blasts through our major database and Google pay-per-click and Bing pay-per-click and the social media campaigns and PR. I mean, all of these are collective tools, but ultimately, as much as people want to compliment marketing and all these things we do, you and I both know, Steve, that it's the agents that, if we were to look at our seller leads throughout a year, the agent generated leads, the referrals, word of mouth, the fact is that we have a very good reputation out there. Certainly in Northern California, you have this amazing, amazing respect. Other brokerages can't, penetrate into the business. So, and that's not because we're not co-brokering and working with others. It just happens to be that we are the leaders of the pack. So good job on building it. But now let's go to the next question. So Steve, I asked all the agents what made them join, but I imagine you have a different question that should be asked, which is what made you create Restaurant Realty? But if you answered the question, what made you join, by all means, go for it.
Well, you're correct. I didn't join it, but I founded the company in 1996. And the reason I wanted to do restaurant brokerage was because I had 20 years of operations and ownership experience in the restaurant business. Plus, I had another 20 years of real estate experience. And so I thought tying the two together, my real estate experience and restaurant operating experience, would serve me well, so I could help sellers and buyers achieve their goals of selling and buying food and beverage businesses.
Listen, and the history shows that was a good decision. So, but now I want to hear, Drew, what made our agents join?
I joined Restaurant Realty for multiple reasons. I had crossed paths with the creator, founder, owner of the brokerage, Steve Zimmerman, many, many years ago when I was running a sushi chain. 10 years from there, I met him again at my own restaurant in San Francisco. We sat down and had a chat because I was considering to sell my restaurant. Fast forward another 3 years, I had 2 restaurants. My quality of life was poor. I could not see my kids, and I was working too hard. And Keith Simpson, our brokerage's English top agent, helped me sell my restaurant in Sacramento. And he simply said at one point in time to me, "You would be good at this, Andy." And I took him up on it and reached out to Steve, and the rest is history. So I've been here 5 years from that point and have a great quality of life and do not own any more restaurants.
And I was contacted by the founder of Restaurant Realty Company, who was looking to expand into Southern California. And he said, "Listen, you come from a restaurant background growing up within the business. I think your skill set will fit very nicely with my company. Let me tell you what I do." And it just made sense to me to come back home, so to speak. I came back home to the business that I grew up in and combined it with my many years and experience within the commercial brokerage sector.
My old company could never get into the San Francisco market. It was always wrapped up by Mr. Steve Zimmerman. So I wrote him an email, and I went through quite a process, quite an interview. 2 months later, I had joined the company. And I've been selling restaurants ever since for the last 12 years, or 11 years rather, with Steve. And he's moved me around all over the place, and I've moved. And so my territory has moved with me. But I still retain a lot of my old clients, where, quite honestly, 70% of my business comes from referrals of clients.
Prior to joining Restaurant Realty, I was working downtown San Diego primarily, doing retail and some office leasing and sale transactions. in the property and asset management industry. But I really started doing restaurant transactions and really started enjoying working with all the entrepreneurs that own restaurants, because our industry is highly dominated by what Main Street calls the mom and pop owners.
What really drew me to Restaurant Realty is the influence my father had. He was an agent with Restaurant Realty for 5 years. And as Restaurant Realty was growing, my father actually threw this opportunity my way and said, Steve may be interested in hiring agents that have not owned a restaurant at the moment. And I was very fortunate, am very fortunate to have worked for some really great restaurant groups, such as the Michael Mina Group, Sam Fox Concepts, Il Fornaio, and
Restaurant Realty sold my restaurant, and I got involved in the process of that, and I enjoyed it. Restaurant Realty has helped me sell my restaurant. Why don't I just help other people sell their restaurants? And that's kind of what led me to seek an interview with Steve Zimmerman.
When I sold my restaurant, I was thinking about what was next in the day in the life of a Patrick Toda. I had a lot of experience in the industry. I've been doing basically this my entire life. And I started talking to Steve after I sold my restaurant through him. And it felt like a natural progression for me to go into selling restaurants. It basically used all my knowledge of everything that I had been collecting throughout the years.
I joined Restaurant Realty for a couple of reasons. I was working residential before that. What I like about Restaurant Realty is it's more about the numbers, about the financials. It's more cut and dried. It doesn't mean it's easier than selling residential, but I think it's more in the same wavelength of what I do and in my gear house.
I was very impressed with the experience, the specialty, the team, reading all of their bios, and I just felt attracted to be a part of that.
Thank you, guys. I mean, now the question is, after all this time, as you heard, we have a lot of people here, 5, 10, 11, 7, 9 years. What makes you stay? So Steve, first I'm going to ask you, what makes you stay here? Shouldn't you just like throw the keys at somebody and say, I'm done. I've given it my all. What do you say?
No, not at all. I love every day I'm involved in this process. I enjoy seeing sellers obtaining a strong price for their business, and I enjoy seeing buyers purchase a successful business which will provide a good income for them and their family, very specifically.
Yeah, beautiful. Obviously, look, as some people will say, you have to be passionate about this business. You have to be passionate about being an operator, manager, because this is not an easy business. But let me hear what our agents have to say. What makes you stay, guys?
I love what I do. I love working with the clients that I get to work with. We work mainly with sellers. We have walked in their shoes, so we understand the trials and tribulations and how hard the job is. So when someone wants to sell, whether they have a thriving business or the business is struggling, I think we can speak open and honestly to them and support them in the path of selling their restaurant.
This is a family-owned business in the Bay Area that owned restaurants. We get it. You're not dealing with a corporation here. We feel you.
I stay with Restaurant Realty Company because all the marketing, the whole, it's so well known since 1996. I don't want to reinvent the wheel. I'm 67 years old. I'm very happy being an agent. Steve is very, very fair with me and all the agents.
I think it starts at the top. Steve is just a wonderful person, very ethical, very honest. As they say, the leader leads, and that all filters down to the rest of us. It's wonderful to be associated with Restaurant Realty.
Oh man, I love what I do. I spent a whole lifetime in the food business, starting with washing dishes when I was 14 years old. So I've owned my own restaurant. I've sold food for 26 years. I get to take all that and use that to help the buyers and the sellers realize their dreams. So for me, it's a validation for my entire life's work in the restaurant business. So
I get to learn from the best, Mr. Steve Zimmerman. He's been a great mentor to me. He obviously has experience dating back to the 90s. And I feel very blessed to have been able to learn from him. I enjoy the heck out of what I'm doing, and I get to apply all the knowledge that I've learned in my entire life, and it just feels very natural for me to be doing what I'm doing now.
But I joined Restaurant Realty. First of all, they have a phenomenal reputation. Steve Zimmerman, he's been doing this. He's been in the business since he was a teenager. His family ran restaurants. And I tell this to people I deal with sellers. Nobody I've ever met knows more about restaurants than Steve. He literally wrote the book on the subject. So the reputation and the expertise, and boy, everyone's great. The staff is phenomenal. Everyone's nice. Steve is just super helpful. I mean, I could call him 10 at night and he'll talk to me. So just the back end support is phenomenal.
We really do help people. We help the sellers and buyers, and it's very rewarding.
I will have to say the team, everyone has a high level of integrity, and I appreciate that. And at the end of the day, although we all work hard and we grind, we're all people at the end of the day. And that's important to me, to work with people that have a high level of integrity. And one of the other aspects of the job that I love is that it's never boring. There's never a boring day at Restaurant Realty.
I've really enjoyed working with the different agents and the staff. And I've been really impressed with the team atmosphere that Steve has created.
What makes me stay is the camaraderie and just the flexibility, that how everybody works together, the team support. Steve, very supportive.
So there you have it, Steve. People do like you. There's validation. This is your 360 feedback, survey at the end of the year, your employee performance review. So congratulations, you've passed the test for now. So as we go to year 28 in business next year, you've done a good job building a good team.
Thank you.
So God bless you. But now we're going to continue on. Question number 5. I asked everybody, I gave them all okay, you're entering the elevator and this person has a restaurant. What are your unique selling points? What do you tell that seller? Why should they work with us? So what would your answer be, Steve?
Well, for 28 years, we've sold over $1 billion of business and real estate sales, including over 1,600 restaurants and bars, over 70 related commercial buildings, and we leased over 3 million square feet of commercial space. Most of our agents and brokers have either owned restaurants and bars or worked in the industry and have a realistic understanding of the challenges of the business and the required deal structure necessary to help assure that the buyer will make a meaningful offer.
That sounds like some very impressive bullet points. I was going to first say, is that it, Steve? Is that all that we did? I mean, we made dreams come true for so many sellers and buyers, right? I mean,
absolutely.
We created this. I know how many restaurateurs have passed through our doors. That's an impressive piece of history. But Drew, let's go ahead and hear what our agents had to say. Why work with us?
Restaurant Realty has the largest and most fantastic network of restaurateurs, restaurant owners, bar owners, restaurant groups that are monitoring our sites and what we post regularly. I would also let them know that I've been a longtime restaurant owner and understand the bones of a restaurant. I understand the numbers of a restaurant and can speak the language. I'm not a commercial broker who sells a plethora of styles of businesses. We only sell restaurants.
I tell sellers, I feel your pain. I grew up in your business. I understand the blood, sweat, and tears, whether they be financial, whether they be health related, whether it's a generational handoff. I empathize with you. Tell me how I can help you best. Tell me your story. Are you an immigrant? Is this your first business? Why did you succeed? Why are you failing? Oh, you've run the business for 40 years. How wonderful. In the same location, and COVID put you out of business. That's terrible. But you own the real estate free and clear, and you would like me to find you a replacement tenant. Wonderful. You have an emotional bond with the real estate, and therefore you're telling me you are very selective in the type of business and the qualifications of the operator that you would like me to find. I understand. And I will perform and I will find you that buyer or that tenant that will make you happy.
For you, run the business as you have been. Don't start cutting the hours and changing anything, because the buyers and probably SBA lenders and banks want to see business either retaining the way it is or going up. So retain or grow the revenues, and for goodness sake, increase the profit. So stop spending money on the place if you can help it. I don't mean duct tape things, fix things when they break, but don't go on glorifying and spend money, because everything you spend won't be on the bottom line. Run the business as normal, and then I would say just manage the profits, because sales is vanity, but profits are sanity.
Actually tell sellers stuff. We're the largest brokerage of restaurants in the state of California. You know, no other company comes close. The results speak for themselves. I mean, people can say all kinds of things, but look at the results. You know, it's at the end of the day, it's, you know, what does the scoreboard say? And that's just a reflection of the people at the company.
There are great companies out there, right? Sunbelt, Keller Williams, all these different companies have great agents with a lot of experience. I think coming into Restaurant Realty's world, we provide this really unique niche that we have been in the industry before, and we can provide the services tailored to restaurant owners. We only deal with restaurants, bars, clubs, and so that makes us unique. This is all we talk about on a daily and weekly basis, so it's always fresh in our minds.
I tell every seller, you know, the importance of pricing your restaurant right. How are we going to market their listing? What is our marketing process, so they can get an understanding of the expectations? And then I tell them how I'm going to check in with them and how we're going to keep this working between us until it's sold.
We want to bring you a qualified buyer as quick as possible. Qualified means, you know, they've got the cash, or they qualify for a loan or an SBA loan. So I do a lot of vetting before that, their financial history, and especially their restaurant experience. Because a lot of landlords, they want to know what's their restaurant experience. They don't want someone that has no restaurant experience. And that's something I find landlords want to know a lot. I also tell sellers, you know, it could take a week where we have you a buyer. It could take a few weeks. It could take a few months. I can't make any promises at all.
So there you have it. There's some definitely some great selling points of what shapes us and makes our reputation that much better. And but I think then the last question, you know, the advice, and this was actually tough for some people, and some it was super easy to answer, because, you know, the giving advice to buyers looking to work with us is no easy thing. So Steve, what would you, a buyer is potentially going to buy a restaurant and they're thinking about using Restaurant Realty. What do you tell buyers?
Well, I tell them basically three main points. They got it. Number one, do their due diligence and make sure the location is strong, both short-term and long-term, meaning that, you know, things can change in a particular location. They should do their best to determine, you know, what the long-term plans are for that particular location. Number two, make sure they have a favorable long-term lease and they have a reasonable landlord. You know, your landlord is like a partner, and it's so important to have a good landlord that understands and has empathy for you as a tenant. Number three, do your due diligence regarding the financial history of the business. Inspect the physical plan to make sure it meets all governmental requirements. And most importantly, make sure you do conservative projections and have an adequate supply of working capital, because unfortunately things don't always go right.
This reminds me that our listeners need to go to our articles database and go through your buyer's checklist.
Right.
And they probably should go to Amazon.com and buy The Restaurant Dealmaker by Mr. Steve Zimmerman, because he did write the book, and there's lots of amazing information there that expands upon that. But now I want to hear, what did our agents have to say? Drew, fire it up.
We can support them through the negotiations process with a seller who may be misvaluing or mispricing their business, or overpricing, I should say. We can help with the landlord and lease negotiations as far as getting them in a signed lease or a new lease that works best for them. We can let them know when to walk away from a situation when it's not a good opportunity for them or it's not the right price for the business.
The reason I associated myself with Restaurant Realty Company, and the reason you should interview Restaurant Realty Company for the disposition of your restaurant asset, is because we are not a corporate monolith. Restaurant Realty Company, as successful as it is up and down the state of California, is a family-owned business that ran restaurants. We understand you. We make our decisions based upon your needs, and we do not have to answer to any board of directors or corporate headquarters anywhere in the world. You're dealing directly with the decision makers that will do the best job for you.
Number one, we work confidentially. So there's no for sale sign outside. There's no advertising in the local newspaper, no MLS in restaurants. So it's really confidential that if a buyer is interested in either a photograph he sees or the description or the location of where we're advertising a restaurant, he will sign a non-disclosure agreement. And that's very important. The actual secrecy of where a restaurant is very important for you, your employees, your customers. You don't want to be selling it too early because business can go down. We only want business to go up.
A lot of people need help that are entering the business for the first time. So Steve wrote a great book, Restaurant Dealmaker. I recommend that to people all the time. It's a good start. I recommend they educate themselves, really understand what they're getting into. They need to, if they have a spouse, they definitely want to make sure they're on board completely with that decision. They need to understand the financial implications. They're going to have to sign a personal guarantee. They really need to know what they're doing.
We discuss and talk to landlords all the time. So with the buyer's best interest in mind, we can help them negotiate lease agreements. We can help them negotiate lease terms and really give the buyers the best opportunity to succeed, because ultimately we want to put good tenants in landlords' buildings that will succeed, be able to pay rent, and be able to provide for their families.
One of the things I want to really, really have is a passion. Because if you do have a strong passion, if you really do want to connect with people like this, then you might just be able to figure out the why. Having a passion keeps you engaged in the game and you can figure it out. And then I ask them if they have an exit strategy. Because worst comes to worst, if they want to get out, they look on what that looks like. And so that I help them develop a whole plan to get in there, to be successful, and to exit it at some point.
My advice to you would be, do you have passion for the restaurant industry? I think it's really important to have passion because it's very hard. I think people have this perception that you're going to make money hand over fist and that it's very easy. And you really have to have a passion for it. You really have to want to put, roll your sleeves up and, especially in the beginning, and, work hard and establish kind of a presence. And from there, I think you can, potentially see some greatness, but you really got to have a passion for it first.
The advice I would give a buyer looking to work with Restaurant Realty is, first and foremost, yes, it's listed and we're representing the seller, but we want the transaction to go as smooth as possible. So we are going to help you out. I'm available anytime you need questions answered. We're going to walk you through escrow. Just be patient. If it's a liquor license, it's going to take some time. And there's a lot more things to do than if there's no ABC license. But we're going to help you out as much as we can. I'm here for you 24/7, literally.
I review our representation agreements with them and also discuss the criteria that they would want to see in a buyer. And although we might find them the perfect buyer, the landlord is always going to be a silent partner in the deal because the landlord has to approve them and write them a lease.
Restaurant Realty just deals with restaurants, and it's something that I always tell my buyers and sellers is you don't know what you don't know. So working with an expert is very important.
think a good point to what she says, people in general know a lot of agents, residential agents. And so the first person, even a restaurant owner, would really think about in selling their restaurant is a residential agent. Definitely refer it to a restaurant broker, such as Restaurant Realty.
There are so many different nuances to selling a restaurant, and it's important to go with a broker that time and again does several transactions all year long, year after year, only selling food and beverage businesses. And more than likely, they've also actually had previously owned a restaurant. So they understand all the ins and outs, not just with the transaction itself, but what needs to happen to operate a restaurant.
Well, there you have it, Steve. I think our agents have done a pretty decent job, don't you think, of encapsulating the mission statement that you've set before them?
Yeah, fantastic. Very impressed. Very gratified that our team thinks so highly about me. It's very, very nice. Very nice to know. Very, it makes the whole process so worthwhile, and before we tell you about our next Dealmaker show in January, first of all, I want to thank Jeremy very much for the outstanding job that he did in putting together his unique and very informative presentation. And Jeremy has a company called Broekman Communications. And Jeremy, why don't you tell the audience what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Absolutely. Well, listen, if you do happen to Google the name Jeremy Broekman, you'll find most of my vitals. But my email address is jeremy@Broekman, my last name, BROEKMAN.com. The phone number 818-212-9201. Or you could just reach out to Steve and say, how do I get in touch with that shady Jeremy guy again? We'll be more than happy to help you as well. So
I definitely will be. Great. Thank you, Jeremy.
Of course.
We're starting next year with a very exciting team, Larry Mendel and his son, Michael. And I just want to tell you briefly about Larry, because he's looked upon as being one of the most successful, without a doubt, restaurateurs in Northern California. Larry started in the coffee business, and he ended up actually buying the coffee company when he was 26 years old, called Caswell Coffee. In fact, we used to do business with Larry when we had our restaurants. He used to sell us coffee. And so anyway, he sold the company, and then he co-founded Spectrum Foods with the purchase of Chianti Restaurant in Los Angeles, which became one of the most successful Italian restaurants in Los Angeles, extremely well known. He then developed Spectrum Foods into 14 restaurants, including these were mainly in the San Francisco Bay Area: Chow, Prego, MacArthur Park, and Guaymas. In 1984, Saga Corporation acquired Spectrum Foods, and Larry served as president of the restaurant group, overseeing more than 200 restaurants, generating over $375 million in annual sales. Upon the merger of Saga with Marriott in 1986, Larry departed and acquired the fledgling Il Fornaio 6-unit bakery chain. Il Fornaio was started as a bakery chain, but then he transformed it into 22 powerful full-service restaurants, doing $145 million in annual revenue, which he took public, and then again, the company went private. So Larry and his son Michael, and Michael worked at Il Fornaio for almost 26 years. They currently own and operate Poggio. In fact, we had our company holiday party at Poggio, which is in Sausalito, and another restaurant they own Capito in Sausalito, and they just opened the second Capito in Willow Glen section of San Jose, and they also own Convivo in Santa Barbara. And so we're very excited about having Larry and Michael as our kickoff for 2024. So at this time, I would like to wish all of you a very healthy and happy holiday season, and stay well. And we look forward to working with you again in the future. And thanks for joining us today.
Happy New Year.
Again, Jeremy, thanks for the great job.
Welcome. Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity.
Take care.